Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?
What's up, nerds? Welcome to another episode of the Multiverse Report. Right now, we are about to recap season. I want to say season. No, not season.
No,
episode.
There's only one
Episode
season.
3.
Yeah.
But it's season and secret. Those two S words that I always mix up.
Yep.
So it's episode 3, season 1 of Secret Invasion, from Super Skrull headquarters to an underwater submarine. Is there any other kind? And everywhere in between. My name is Mike Gibson. With me is always Steve Haller. What's up, Steve?
I guess if they're building it, they got to do it above water.
True. Great point.
Yeah.
Great point.
If they start building them underwater, we should really be worried.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, okay. So third episode of Secret Invasion. Because we do have some people watching us, I will say, I posted about this earlier, but just in case, if you are watching us waiting for the announcement of the winner of the graphic novel contest, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, as you see behind me, that's not happening until our full main episode that we'll be doing probably about 20 minutes from now after we're done talking about Secret Invasion. That is when we will announce the winner. So you can, if that angers you, you can just walk away for 25 minutes or so and then come back and then, great.
Yeah.
Or
Otherwise,
you can just
stay
listen
tuned.
tomorrow. If you're like, yo, my bedtime was 10 minutes from now. What? They're not going to announce it now? No, we're not going to. We will in our next episode. We're doing 2 episodes tonight.
Also, you made the mistake of putting a time limit on something. You know that never works with us.
Yeah, I know. Now we're going to talk about it for an hour. For sure. Anyway, we also had that episode's going to be good, by the way. There's a lot of other cool stuff we're talking about, and we're going to dive into why we're having this contest to begin with, this giveaway to begin with, which has to deal with us having a sponsor now. More details on that in our main weekly episode. But right now we're talking Secret Invasion, Season 1, Episode 3. I posted a little teaser of my thoughts a few days ago after I had finished watching Episode 3, because I just feel conflicted about this show. And I think I might have narrowed it down a little bit more. I think in that short video, that like Instagram reel that I posted, I was like, I don't understand. It's doing so many things that I really, really like, but I feel like it kind of undercuts itself. Like it sets up this great tension and then it just railroads it for the sake of a joke or something. And I think this is, again, we'll dive into the regular episode events in a second, but just kind of like stepping back, general thoughts. I feel like the writing of this show is a different tone than everything else. Like I feel like visually, pacing wise, they're going for this like espionage, spy, thriller, who can you trust, which is great. And I think they're nailing it. I think they're doing a good job, but like it's written like an MCU movie, like a standard.
They're bringing a little too much MCU into the mix.
Yeah,
when
just like a quippy, poppy, snarky MCU movie.
And right off the bat, we talked last week and the week before about how everyone is comparing this to MCU's Andor. And Andor did a great thing in the sense that it just made a good show and set it in the Star Wars universe.
Right.
And right now, this is, don't get me wrong, I'm enjoying watching this show a lot.
Same, me too.
But there's a couple too many MCU tendrils in there, I guess.
Yeah, and it's like this wasn't in episode 3. This was in episode 2. It's the first thing I can think of where like when Fury and Talos are having that scene on the train in episode 2, and Talos confesses to Fury that there's like 1 million Skrulls. Fury says something, like he reacts, he's upset, and he says something about like, get your reptilian ass or something, like some insult that I was like, that's just some like childish, quippy MCU insult. That's like, I don't know that he would just be too furious to actually say a quippy line like that, I guess. And like, I don't know. It felt like, I don't know if this is the case. It feels like there was like a second pass on the script when they're like, we got to punch this up. We got to add some jokes. It's not Marvel-y enough or something. But I'm just like, I wish it was a little less typical Marvel.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, now that we've tangented before the
I don't know. It feels like
before the hiccup, before the we've tangented before we get into the actual episode, but
Yeah.
what do you say we dive in and right off the bat we find out the answer to the question from last week?
Yes. Fury's wife is a Skrull, and he knows about it, which is what we thought. We surmised that he probably did know about it. But as you could expect, like this is another the dialogue in this scene was like it's all a little too on the nose,
Mhm.
you know, where she's kind of coming right out and saying like, you were gone and I am mad at you. Like, yeah, we should be able to understand that with a little more nuance. Like, we don't need you to state your emotions in every scene, and it just seems like that's kind of what they're doing. And rightfully so, right? I feel like she'd be very right to be upset. After she thought he was dead for 5 years and then came back, and then he immediately left and went to space without telling her, apparently. And she even says like, "You're Nick Fury. I know that you leave all the time."
Right, but you come
apparently,
back.
this is like, yeah, exactly. This was a step too far. And then later in the episode, we see her like try to get a hold of. She's talking to somebody on the phone. We don't know who it is, and she asks to speak to Gravik, but is not allowed to speak to Gravik for some reason. So, how deep is she in with Gravik? Like, what side is she going to be on? Where do her loyalties lie? I think that's an interesting plot thread that they're adding to the mix for sure.
So,
go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say I actually did the thing we were talking about last week where I watched it and then I forgot to rewatch it. Like I watched it Wednesday, and then I forgot to rewatch it. Now I'm like, what happened next?
Well, I got the I have a little synopsis
perfect
in front of me. So like you and I were right, and I mean I can't take credit for you and I being the only ones that surmised this because they weren't super subtle about it. But in this episode, they say the phrase "Super Skrulls." That is the goal of Gravik. He's using the DNA of Groot and all those other characters that they teased in episode 2 to create Super Skrulls. And there's evidence in this episode that he has already done that to himself, as he healed himself from a stab wound with something that looked extremis-y. So they're well on the way. But I feel like he's going to end up being the only one with Super Skrullness. I feel like there's got to only be one Super Skrull, right?
Yeah, like maybe he's the only one that fully, quote unquote, succeeds with all 4 or whatever.
Yeah, or he's the only one that survives or something.
Right. Maybe there's a couple that get like X, Y, or Z powers, and he's the only one that is the Super Skrull.
It gets all 4. Yeah, could be. Gravik and Talos meet up to talk about, they say Talos calls a parlay. So they go to talk about stuff, and apparently Gravik does not go alone. Talos is surrounded by a room of Skrulls. I did like that scene quite a bit. I thought that was pretty great. Like there's a good amount of tension in that scene, and I really did love when Talos stabbed him in the hand with a knife.
Yeah.
And that shot was pretty graphic when he like pulled his hand through the knife. They showed they weren't shying away from showing blood and stuff. Of course, it healed right up, but like.
No, but again, it seems like that's a scene where they let the actors do their thing.
Yeah.
Like, yes, we gave them dialogue, but you again have 2 very good actors going at it,
right,
and just producing a great scene in a good show. And
and that's a scene where I don't think they undercut the tension in that scene. I think they like executed that really well up until when Talos stabs him in the hand and walks away. And that's like there's a good amount of there's some good displays of violence in this show that in ways like that's a little bit more brutal than some of the other shows, which I think is good, and it's fitting with like at least one of the tones that they're going for. People are getting shot left and right. Like it's pretty intense, some of it. And I like that about it for sure. So I did like the Gaia slipping Talos information or a burner phone or something, a way to communicate. But that was something I think they did very subtly. Like they didn't show Gaia turning into the old man. It was just like he bumps into an old man awkwardly, and then a car drives by, and then she's on the other side. Like so, like I thought that I really liked that. Like that was not like a we are hitting you over the head with what is happening in the show
Right.
kind of thing. I like that. That's like the degree of subtlety that I like when they're doing stuff like that. I think it's great.
Right, but where's the consistency in it?
That's my problem.
Yeah.
That's my problem. It feels like there's like the I don't know. It feels like they're straddling the line between two tones, and it's not really mixing to make like a unique thing. For me, anyway. If it's working for other people, great. I'm glad about that.
Yeah, I guess for me it's working, but it's not like working.
Yeah, I agree. Like I'm enjoying the show a lot. Like I think it's good.
Right.
I don't think it's bad, but like every once in a while I'm like, oh, they're
Right.
I get what they're going for, but they're not really crushing it. And like I'm not watching the show on the edge of my seat, which is I think what they want. That's what they're going for. And I'm not quite there. I guess in general, this episode is my favorite episode I think so far.
Okay.
Because of the stuff that they did in it. It was a little bit darker. It was a little more intense. There's a little bit more kind of intense.
Faster and more intense.
Yeah, George Lucas style. A little more intense, kind of like violence in it. I like that a lot. But we'll get to some. We'll get to that later.
Yeah.
So they find out that there's this Navy sub that Gravik is going to. There's a Skrull that's going to have a sub attack something. I can't remember. They're just going to fire missiles, and
it was going to be on some UN delegation or meeting or something.
That's right. United Nations, another United Nations like aircraft or something, right? But Fury and Talos have to go break into this dude's house, which is some cool sneaking around, shooting security guards stuff. I really liked how they utilized the sun. Like this is like a little bit darker of a scene for sure, because first Talos cracks the door, sees a kid playing video games, and you're like, oh no. Like, and that set a great tone for me, right where I didn't necessarily think we're gonna see that kid again. We do, but I thought he was just there to tell you like, oh, this guy is a dad, and whatever's going to happen to this guy, his son is in the other room. And that raises the stakes, like emotionally and intensity, it like raises everything immediately. So I like that a lot. And then the fact that Fury realized Talos was in trouble because nobody calls him Nick, and he comes in with a gun to the boy's head. I was like, whoa, shit. Yeah. That was cool.
That escalated. And that whole scene worked.
Yeah. I think there was one or two Fury lines that were a little too like quippy, undercutting tension in that scene, but for the most part, it did work. Now, my question is, the dad is revealed to be a Skrull. Is the son a Skrull? I don't remember if they revealed the son as a Skrull, or did a Skrull just kill or capture the dad and impersonate the dad? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is kind of a weird.
Is it a family of Skrulls, or is it just the dad? I don't know. I don't think that they confirmed that either way, because I think we ended up not seeing, like, the son wasn't in the room when they shot the guy.
Right.
So I think they just got him out of there, because that would have been tough.
Unnecessarily.
That'd be like a step too far for
cruel,
Disney. Yeah, Disney's not gonna put a show on their streaming service, I don't think, where you shoot a dad in front of their son. This isn't, it's not the Dark Knight or something.
Yeah.
But I thought that scene worked a lot, or worked very well. And then I think the only other thing that I can remember really happening like this, like, we're talking about, like, we've mentioned like 4 events that have happened in this show. It seems, and we talk about people are complaining about the pace of this show being slow, and the pace does not bother me at all. I like that there's only like 4 set pieces in this show, basically, because means they took their time with each of those and made them really great. And the tension, part of the tension of that submarine scene is on the actual sub itself. where the two different guys are flipping the switches and getting ready to do, like, that was really cool. Like intercutting then with Gaia back at Super Skrull headquarters, trying to get like, that was really well done. Like that was really well orchestrated and executed, I think. But then Talos calls Gaia and says, "We did it, but you got to get out of there right now because now they're going to know that it's you." So she does. She tries to run away. Seems like she's going to make it, but then Gravik cuts her off, and apparently he was expecting her to betray him, so he was watching her, and he shoots her, leaves her for dead.
Because that always happens, and that always works.
Because that always happens. Now, during their confrontation, he's pointing a gun at her. I thought it would be really great if he shot her, and that was like, and she died. Like, that's what I want this show to do. And then they did it, and I was like, oh, great, awesome, great. And then I saw this thing on social media, Samuel Jackson saying, "Here's the cast reacting to episode 3 of Secret Invasion." And you think it's going to be like a bunch of clips of the cast, but it's not. It's just Emilia Clarke saying, "Wow, that was quick." Funny, right?
Sure.
And then it cuts to like a close-up of her, and she goes, "Maybe a little too quick." And I'm like, "You gotta be kidding me. Come on. Come on.
Yeah.
Just kill somebody. Let them stay dead. Come on. There's no stakes in the MCU if everyone just keeps coming back to life. What?"
100% accurate.
So, as much as I loved this episode, seeing that little tease on social media made me like, oh, come on. Just have some courage and leave somebody dead. Like, it's okay. It's okay if she stays dead, but apparently not.
So I had my brain did some thinking this week after that, and
watch out.
I know.
Watch out.
The wheels are
path to
turning.
corruption.
There's like, smoke churning and whatever.
Yeah, that's the path to the devil right there.
So what if we're into pure Marvel territory in the what if segment? What if Emilia Clarke comes back but Gaia doesn't?
Oh, cool.
What if it's a Skrull like that, or that Gravik has a Skrull imitating Gaia, so that the people, like, there was only how many people were with Gravik, like his inner circle, like him and his goon, like a couple of goons there, and that was it. If he has one of the other Skrulls imitate Gaia,
so Talos doesn't know that she's dead?
Right.
Okay. I'd be fine with that. If Gaia's actually dead, I'm great.
Right.
I'm golden. If they comic book it and she's not or comes back, then I'll be rolling my eyes pretty hardcore.
Yeah, because I mean, you don't pay Emilia Clarke to just do what she's done so far.
Well, that's why I loved it so much.
Oh yeah.
Because like, if she's actually dead and doesn't come back, then I'd be like, oh, that's awesome. Of course, if you cast a celebrity in this role just to die halfway through, then no one's going to see it coming and no one's going to expect it. But like you just said, of course, they want to keep her around, blah, 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 blah. She's coming back in some way.
You've already paid her money. You're going to film as many scenes as you can with her.
Yeah, I know.
This is that part of the podcast where Mike and Steve get jaded on the general the general nature of Hollywood and what they're doing.
Yeah. More on that to come in our main episode. Spoiler alert, or foreshadowing, I should say. So I think that's pretty much it. Like, again, I like this show. I don't love it. I want to love it. I wish I loved it. It's fine.
Yeah,
it's fine. It's entertaining me. And I'll be interested to see how it ends, and if this is going to set up anything for the future of the MCU and blah, blah, blue, blah, blue, whatever. I'm really happy that this is not a multiverse show, as we've talked about in the past.
We'll also talk about more multiverse shows that I'm actually excited about.
Okay.
In the next one.
In the main app. Yeah. Okay. I'm looking forward to talking about that.
Yes. Because I feel like the two of us are going to be quite at odds about that.
I don't know if we're well, okay, we'll save it. We're giving too much away here. There's too many times where Steve and I get talking about what we're supposed to be talking about on the pod before we actually start recording, and then we have to say, "Whoa, stop! Let's save this."
You should hear the pre-roll, folks.
Yeah, I know. Subscribe to our Patreon if you want to hear the pre-roll.
Yeah.
That's a joke. Although we do have a Patreon, but we don't have anything on it.
Right.
And
you can
no one is
subscribe for a notification for when our Patreon goes live.
Yeah, you can do that.
When that will be, who knows? But
also, if you're gonna subscribe to a Patreon just for a notification, also let us know what you would want us to do on a Patreon, because we have no idea. No idea. Anyway, I think that's episode 3 of Secret Invasion. Anything else?
I would say so. No, I mean, it's the standard reiterating, like, it's been a great show. I've enjoyed watching all 3 episodes, but there's nits to pick, and there's a little bit, I think you hit the nail on the head with a little bit too MCU-y. If they could have just stepped that out.
It just can't decide what tone it's going for, I feel like.
Right. Like it's not a, if I
had a friend,
have
cake and eat it too.
Right. If I had a friend who just likes crime dramas and like holds The Wire up as the best show ever, which it's pretty close to anyways, but like I would not recommend this to them just because of the more, there's parts to it that fit the mold, and then there's enough that's like, nah, if you don't like comic books,
shape-shifting aliens also.
Right. Well, minor detail.
Yeah. Yep. One other thing, and this is just something I didn't think about. I noticed somebody posted online. In episode 3, Nick Fury knows that Talos has been captured because the Skrull impersonating him refers to him as Nick, and he comes in with a gun to the son's head saying, "Nobody calls me Nick." Episode 2 of Secret Invasion, James War Machine Rhodes called him Nick.
Yeah.
And in this episode, he leaned over to Talos and said, "I have a line on a Skrull in the higher levels of the U.S. government." So I think maybe it's Rhodey.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Rhodey.
So as soon as he said that line, it clicked in my head. I was like, he called him Nick last episode.
I heard somebody else call him Nick. Yeah, exactly.
Other clarification, Steve Rogers at one point calls him Nick.
Ah, okay.
Back in
somebody, you're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
But that is also, it's Cap, who's been frozen in ice since 1940, and, that might have just been decorum back then.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Yeah.
But I always love when they say that line, and I'm like, but didn't somebody already call him that?
Yeah, it's like someone didn't completely do all their research.
Right. They did most of it, though.
Or the line would have been, "Almost nobody called me Nick."
There are 3 people that call me Nick.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Well, I think that about wraps it up for episode 3 of season Invasion. See, I did it again. Secret Invasion. But if you're watching us, stick around for our main episode. We're talking Deadpool 3. We're talking a bunch of stuff. We're talking a franchise we've never talked about before on the Multiverse Report. So that'll be maybe exciting. Who knows? I don't know what our feelings are about this franchise. We haven't talked about it, but we will. So stick around for that. And we're going to announce the winner of the giveaway. So yeah. And if you're just listening, just, listen to the next episode.
Right. It's in your feed.
Hear all that stuff.
I can guarantee if you're listening to this, the other one's already in there.
It's there.
Because I'm the one that puts them up there, so I kind of know.
You sure do.
And, while you're listening, you can also feel free to pull up your phones and check out themultiverseport.com or Multiverse Report on all sorts of social media. Apparently, we have an Instagram account, and it works. We found out this week.
It sure does. Yeah. Working like gangbusters now.
Yep. We technically still have a Twitter that's Multiverse RPT. Outside of dying cesspools, we're gonna monitor it, but you're not gonna see too much going on there.
Not too much.
But other than that, I think that covers it.
That's it. Stick around. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time in the multiverse.